Go ahead.
Do you have the statement?
Yeah. The notice requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act for this meeting have been satisfied. Copy of the annual notice has been sent to the Asbury Park Press and the Coaster, posted in Town Hall and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 30th, 2019. Roll call,
That is-
please.
That is 2020. There is a, it's been
Yeah,
corrected.
my mistake.
Yeah, 2020.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, it'll be council members Achara,
Here.
Donlin,
Here.
Fisher. Fisher? Can't hear you.
He's got no sound there.
And Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Here. You want to start off on the items for discussion? I guess we'll start with, we don't
Go
want
right
to do
down the
the,
line.
who do you want to start with, Mr. Correctman?
You know what? Let's go right down the line because I
Okay.
know the interim manager's on. I think he was
Good.
on it.
Yeah, I saw Tom and Joe is here as well, so we want to get an interim manager update. So who's going to do that, Vinny? You or Ron?
Nope, either Joe or Mr. Henshaw.
Okay, and Joe, you want to start it off? Introduce
Joe,
our, Joe, can you hear, Joe, you got to take off mute?
Yeah, I'm
Good.
unmuted now.
Right,
Just trying to figure out why Tom's picture isn't coming through. Can you hear us, Tom? Tom? He's having some issue there, obviously. I'm gonna mute myself and call him.
We can do D3 real quick because that's just a quick item for information. We got a
Okay.
request from the apartment complex on Cindy Lane. The township regularly reimburses these complexes for private garbage pickup, and it's done. I spoke to Mr. Gallagher, our finance officer. He said it's done based on a formula. So the management company for that development wants to get on that list of getting reimbursed for garbage pickup because they do their own private garbage. So if it's okay with the governing body, we'll have Mr. Gallagher look into this and come up with an agreement that we can have them sign, and we'll put it on for formalization at a future meeting.
Sounds like a good idea.
Okay.
Why wouldn't, I always ask, why wouldn't we do that? We
No
should.
reason why we wouldn't. It's just one that the apartment complex is new, so we haven't done it. So it was just a
Right.
formality to come to you guys and just find out for sure if you had any reason why we would not do it. But it seems like there's no reason why we wouldn't. We've done it with other ones.
Got it. Thanks.
Joe, were you able to get Tom?
Yes, I did. It's having a problem. They're gonna, he's booting down his computer and gonna boot it back up again, see if that fixes it. We were on a call earlier today with Zoom and it was fine. So I don't know what's going on with his setup now.
Vinny, let's hop down to number 5 then, D5, which is the dog park update.
Perfect. Go ahead, John.
So we asked to have this on the agenda again. I know Laura Mistret is here. She brought up the dog park to the council prior to the start of the new year. Dave Fisher, Councilman Fisher, has since gotten some information from Senator Gopal. So Dave, you want to briefly discuss what you came up with, and then we'll have a brief discussion about it. Dave, you got no sound.
Bueller? Here?
Dave, go up in the corner on the right side on your settings, in those 3 little dots, and you have to connect to audio. You might not be connected, Dave. You might not be connected to audio.
Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Nope.
Now we can't.
I love modern technology.
The more connected, the more disconnected we come. I still can't hear you, Dave.
The easiest thing sometimes is to call in.
Yeah, do the call. Dave, call in the number.
Dave got some information from Senator Gopal about some funding for a potential dog park in town, which obviously the council needs to discuss and decide whether or not we're going to move forward in putting that in the town somewhere. There was some discussion about, at one point, Welts Park. We've got the other area off of, I believe it's I think it's Hope Road. We've got some area over there as well. There was some discussion about having it near the Maya Pond, but I don't know how great of an idea that is, having it right in that section. So I think what we're going to have to do is have a discussion on the dog park as a council, put it on the agenda, and then come up with what we want to do. I would probably prefer to do it when the mayor is back, so that all 5 of us are in, having the discussion about it. In the meantime, if you want to give a brief update of what your discussion that you had with Senator Gopal, that would be great.
Back up.
Is Dave on yet?
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
All right, let me just turn off my audio, my speaker here. All right, how about now?
Good.
Perfect.
We can
Yeah.
hear you.
All right, no feedback, everything's good?
All good.
Okay. All right, so I did contact Senator Gopal, and he believes that there may be some money available in the state treasury for this project, which was quite a shock to me, but exciting. From then, I went on to a conference call with Peter Avakian, and I'm going to flash because I think Greg probably more information. Yeah, and I'm going to let Greg discuss.
Can't hear me, huh?
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so then I'm going to defer to Greg, and then Greg's going to be able to.
Can you hear me now?
Man.
Can everybody hear me?
My
Yes.
stuff's on. Yeah, go ahead, Greg.
Okay. Yeah, essentially, I got a call from Dave and the senator, and what we had done is we looked at possible
You guys
areas
can't
for the
hear
dog
me,
park
huh?
in a very short period of time. I met with the recreation department people, and it seemed as though we had an area probably about, I'm going to say 500 feet west of where Maya Pond is going to be, on the north side of the entrance driveway coming in at that entrance, the middle entrance onto Palea Park. And there was an area where we could leave a couple of trees. It seemed to work out pretty nicely. It's about 180 feet long by about 140 feet wide, which seemed to be perfect for the dog park. We had to put some benches and whatnot. So we put a little plan together. I gave it to the mayor. It was one of those color prints where you couldn't make a PDF of it because it wouldn't come out. But we had gone through that process and got submitted a cost estimate and plan and description of the project to the mayor for the senator.
Okay, so like I said earlier, it's Chris has the plans, the mayor has the plans. If he, I'm sure he's going to share them with us. I would hope at the next meeting, or Vinny, if we could get a copy to the council by the next meeting, and then put this on the agenda and see if we can have a discussion and come up with an agreement of whether
Can you
or
guys
not
hear me
we
now?
want to move forward. Yeah, we can hear you, Dave.
All right, let me just turn off my speaker here.
I mean, what I
All right, how about now?
What I would
No, everything good?
probably, yeah.
Yeah,
All right, so I did contact Senator Gopal, and he believes that there may be some money available in the state treasury for this project, which was quite a shock to me, but exciting. From then, I went on to a conference call with Peter Avakian, and I'm going to defer to.
Didn't we hear this already?
Yeah, we heard this.
It's a playback.
So weird.
All right, so why don't we do this? Let's do a
Yeah,
straw poll
yeah.
of the council to see
I'm
if we.
going to let Greg discuss what Peter.
If there's something going on with you're gonna have to log off and maybe log back on.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
But his lips aren't moving.
Yeah, so then I'm going to defer to Greg, and then Greg.
All right,
We heard from
There
Greg
he goes.
already.
we already heard, Greg,
One
thanks.
thing- One thing I would suggest is I'll get a color copy to all the members of the council for the next meeting. So, because the color copy does it a better justice than a black and white. So I'll get those to Vinny for the next meeting.
Before we even go that route, it would probably be in our best interest to do a quick straw poll to see if we do want to move forward with discussion on that. Obviously, you know, 3 of us or more would have to decide yes or no on this thing. So let me go around the table. Rob, are you for having a discussion on this?
Absolutely want to follow up, learn more. Yes.
Okay, so then you have an open mind to it. Dave obviously does. Margie, go ahead, your opinion?
Absolutely. I think it would be a great asset to our town. I think it'd be excellent to have a dog park. And I think it's a great place for it.
Awesome. I'm in 100% agreement as well. So I think at the next council meeting, Greg, if you have those copies to the council prior to our meeting, that would be great. And then as a full council and the mayor's back, we can discuss this together.
Okay.
Okay?
Greg, John, can I just ask Greg again? I'm sorry, you said
Yes.
where the first entrance, can you describe where it was going to be again, if you don't mind, please?
It's the entrance north of the test site entrance. It's right where the red building is, where they're going to put Maya's Pond. We would be
Correct.
just to the west of that by about 500 feet.
So the west of it. So the west of it. Okay, so right, so further into the park.
Right, because Maya's Pond will be right near up by Whale Pond Road. We're going to
Right.
be behind that, so it's kind of like probably about 700 to 800 feet into the park.
So how far from the nearest houses on Whale Pond?
I believe from the back property line, I believe it's about 200 feet from the back property line.
All right, I mean, we just got, just FYI, just got some complaints today about dogs just walking, not a park, in that area. And so I'm not saying that's a no, I'm just saying the neighbors there are not happy with the amount of dogs that are walking there today, let alone if we put a park there. Not saying it's a no, I'm just letting you know that we had some complaints today about
Okay.
people walking their dogs in the area.
Greg,
So-
I think, Greg, that's just one area that we could consider. There are obviously other areas within the
Right.
township that we could consider.
Hey, John?
Yes, there's
Yes.
plenty of places we can consider. The reason I kind of targeted that, we had a very short time frame, obviously, because this came up on Friday, and
Okay.
it seemed kind of convenient because we have parking all along there. I tried to push it further away, but in my meeting with Recreation, they use all of the other open space along that entrance road for various different soccer games, soccer practice fields, and all that. So unless we kind of move them around, I don't know that we necessarily want to put soccer fields closer to the residents either. So that's probably going to be a good topic for discussion, is exactly how we twist this thing in there. But we can move it other places too.
Laura, yeah, go ahead.
Did you guys ever consider that, remember we talked about the blue area that's non-developable off Overbrook? Behind the Poplar, where the senior housing was? There's
Poplar
all that property back there. Gazebo, parking, asphalt lot. It's off of Overbrook in the back, and it's considered blue, not green. Green,
Blue Acres.
Blue
Blue
Acres.
Blue Acres.
I think that was wetlands, Laura. I think we looked into that. Greg, keep me honest. Laura, I think you and I had that conversation, and I asked, Greg, that's wetlands. Are we able to put anything on that?
Yeah, it's mostly wet, which would be not a great spot for a dog park, but it's also, in a 100-year floodplain. So it would kind of, oftentimes be inundated with water. So I don't think that would really be a great spot for the dogs.
Okay, because I mean, really, if it's raining, you're not taking your dog to the dog park.
No, but unfortunately, the soil's there, the water, the ground stays wet for several weeks afterwards.
Yeah, it's just such a perfect spot.
Yeah, we did consider it, but that was my concern, is it was wet, as are several places in other parks that we have.
Right.
Greg, between now and then, why don't we just, obviously discuss the one spot that you came up with, but let's look at a couple of alternative places that we could potentially put the park.
Okay,
Does that sound good?
yes.
Yes, Ms. Johnson, go ahead. You have to unmute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I just wanted to suggest, I do a lot of walking, and when it's snowing, I cross-country ski through Joe Palea Park. And there's an area that's more toward Deal Road. There are no soccer fields. There's a lot of open space there, and you might want to just look over there for a place for the dog park.
Yeah, I did consider that, but unfortunately, we just put that disc golf course through there.
Right, I forgot.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it'll give the dog something to chase.
Yeah.
All right, so between now and the next meeting, Greg, let's try to pinpoint a few other places. Laura, we'll have more of a discussion at the next meeting. We're all in agreement, the four of us, that we'd like to move forward with discussions, and we would like to see this in town.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you.
Okay?
Okay.
Thanks, Laura.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Laura, for coming on, and thank you for giving it the push.
Thanks.
The next issue, do we have Tom Henshaw on yet?
I spoke with Tom. He said he can hear everybody, but I'm going to ask him to unmute himself and see if we can hear him.
Vinny, do you have to control that, or does he control it?
You can
He
control it.
controlled it. You hear us, Tom? Tom?
Hey, Joe, what if he were just to call in?
Yeah, he can call in.
He could just call in without us seeing him and get this portion of the meeting moving?
I believe that's what he's done. Tom? All right, let me try to reach him and see what happens.
All right, let's go, Vinny, let's move on to the bike with Mr. Correckman.
I want to do Snell Pond. Get Greg out of here.
Do you want to do Snell Pond, John? And because that's Greg's here also for that, I believe.
Okay, then at that point, well, now we would probably need Greg on for the other one as well, wouldn't we?
Okay, whatever you want to do.
Yeah, let's do Mr. Correckman.
Okay.
I saw him on before. Is he still on here?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, there he is, number 5 on my screen. Go ahead, Mr. Correckman. I believe you have an update for us on the bike path.
Yes, I sent to you folks some documents. The first was the history of cycling and pedestrian facilities in Ocean Township, which I believe you all have. The second was I made comments and additions, corrections, and changes to the 1990 Township of Ocean Master Plan on a spreadsheet so that you could see what page I was making comments on, what the heading was, the action, and the addition or changes to be made when you decide to create a new master plan. The third document that I submitted to you was implementing the Ocean Township Bicycle and Pedestrian Network Plan into the Bicycle, Pedestrian, and Physically Challenged Network. And basically what that says is that today you have a plan, which you have had for a while. And in order to develop that plan and implement that plan, what needs to be done is to create some entity that is able to put together all the pieces of that network. And in the discussion, I think it's important to understand that basically there's a difference here between what has been looked at in the past and even what is presented in the network plan that you have from 2010. That basically a network, you need to think of it as, for example, the gas network, the electric network, okay, even the internet. And the point is, if you're looking at a network to interconnect bicycling, walking, and handicapped access to everything within the township, then it needs to be looked at in the same way as if you were going to supply gas to all the homes in the township, or electricity to all the homes in the township. And the point is this, that the first thing you need to look at is your trunk lines. And you need to ask, where are the trunk lines in Ocean Township that can actually bring all of this together so that when you're done, you have a complete network. And those trunk lines, there are 3 major arteries in Ocean Township. Deal Road is probably the most important now because of the pressure that's applied on Deal Road at this time. West Park Avenue is the second one. And there, the third area is either north of that and another area is south of that. What I'm saying to you is this, there are 3 major areas that connect the east-west portions of the Township of Ocean across Route 18 and across Route 35. There's a northern section which borders Eatontown and West Park. I'm sorry, and that's not me, I didn't do that. It borders Eatontown and West Long Branch. There's a central section which is totally within the Township of Ocean between West Park Avenue and Deal Roads. And then there's a southern portion that I would suggest to you is somewhere between Sunset Avenue and Route 66 and Asbury Avenue. Those 3 corridors have to be considered as major trunk lines in developing a network for active transit. And I would suggest to you that based on what we know today and the pressure on the township, that perhaps the best place to start would be at the Deal Road corridor. And it's possible to implement something along the Deal Road corridor that would be able to connect the central part of the township as a good start to establishing this network. I have suggested that.
Excuse me 1 minute. I just want to let Tom Henshaw know that we see you now and we could hear you. Can you hear us, Tom?
Everybody, while
Tom,
Mr. Correctman is speaking, if everybody else can mute their microphones so that we can hear him, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
I have suggested in the latest entry, which is entitled 3 East-West Corridors.
Tom Henshaw, can you mute your phone and your computer? Vinny, can you do it?
Okay, I've suggested to you that there are 3 east-west corridors, and I'm saying that the possible actions that mayor and council could take are that you would prioritize those 3 corridors and decide which one you want to start on. And my suggestion to you, as I said, would be the Deal Road corridor. And that you would create either a utility or an authority or a department within the Township of Ocean to address how to proceed. Realizing that civil engineering is required, some electronic engineering is required, and those plans need to be coordinated with various entities like Monmouth County, State of New Jersey, federal DOT, in order to acquire funds to be able to complete the process of creating a network. So my suggestion to you as a mayor and council would be to create an entity within the township to be able to handle this, because this is not a small, it's not a small effort, and it's something that will need to be maintained, sustained, and operated in the future. So this isn't something that you develop and it then disappears. It continues on forever and ever. And the network continues to supply active transit for cycling, pedestrians, and physically challenged people within the Township of Ocean to give them access to everything that exists within our township.
Thank you, Mr. Kreckman. That was a great update. Greg, you're on as our township engineer. Would you like to comment on what Mr. Kreckman has just said in regard to the bicycle trails and starting with Deal Road and then looking at the other corridors?
Yeah, we've been, as the plan when we first came out, we've been actually incorporating a lot of the things that were in it into the road programs. So those roads that were there, we've actually incorporated mostly sidewalks, but we're also doing bike lanes. Unfortunately, we're not hitting the major roads because we don't have the funding for major roads. But one thing I'm in total agreement with Mr. Kreckman is right now would probably be a great time for Deal Road because we have DOT funding. We have 2 funding sources. We've got it 2 years in a row. We actually started incorporating the sidewalks from Poplar moving east. So our project is going from Route 18 east towards 35. We've got the first 2 funding sources in place. The plans are being designed for phase 2. Phase 3, we just received funding, and that was going to go from Route 35 to Logan Road. But now with the shopping center on the forefront, we've actually changed the funding to go from Logan Road to Whale Pond. So it's kind of a perfect time to add all that in, and I agree with Mr. Kreckman. We can get that going without any county input really, because it's not a county road. The county is dragging their feet on our bicycle request to put bicycle lanes on Monmouth Road from the Interlaken border up to Park Avenue, mostly because they're actually looking at a regional plan themselves on how to get people from town to town. So I can understand that delay, but certainly we are going to, push forward with these, but we can certainly incorporate Deal Road to the forefront because it's part of our road program over the next 3 years.
I have another suggestion, and that is this. I didn't submit it for this meeting, but I had put together a concept for development of Highway 35 and Deal Road intersection area. That's the title of it. And basically, what it lays out very simply for engineering consideration is that since that intersection is basically in the center between Harvey Brook and Poplar Brook. And since that intersection is from 24 to 26 feet higher than either of those brook levels on Route 35, it is entirely possible that an overpass using Deal Road at its present elevation could be done if Highway 35 were regraded to be essentially parallel coming from those two creeks. In other words, you would have a roadbed to roadbed level difference of 24 to 26 feet, which would mean you would not have to have a traffic light at the intersection of Deal Road and 35. And basically the egress and access in that area could be done similar to the way it's done now with the jug handles and cloverleaf stuff. You know, the type of access and egress you have now in certain areas there. And the point is that possibility would really change the problem that light poses at that intersection today without changing basically the way that intersection would look, except that the road obviously would be some 20 feet below at that intersection. Highway 35 would be some 20 feet below where it is today. So I'd ask you to consider that, because that is the only east-west crossing that you can do that easily on without changing the elevation of the road crossing 35. And in this case, Deal Road's elevation could remain exactly the way it is now. So if you could consider that and take a look at that, that would be a tremendous asset to the town.
We can look at that. That would be on our long range plan, because obviously that's a heavy involvement from the DOT.
Yeah, and obviously that's where we would have to get the funding to make that happen.
Right.
Hey,
But we
Al.
can put that in the long range plan.
Al, just want to say hello. It's Chris. I'm just joining in. Can you hear me?
Welcome, Mayor.
Welcome, Mayor.
Lou. So Al,
Yes.
I caught the tail end of that about I said there was a regrading maybe involved in that. Was that right?
Yes.
To do that? I think, like Greg knows, the DOT, of course, had just paved Highway 35. And asking them to do any changes there, it's like pulling teeth. I remember wanting them to upgrade our divider or make changes to that, or even soften the look, maybe get rid of the Jersey barriers. Boy, they didn't want to do anything. They were inflexible, to say the least. So to get them to change grading, I don't know what the length would be, but it's going to be a heavy lift, I'll say that.
It would be between those two creek beds, between Harvey Brook, which
I thought you said,
which is at the south end of the Middlebrook Shopping Center,
right?
And Poplar Brook, which is where the lighting place used to be on 35, Cooper Electric. I don't know what that is now.
Yeah, it was a nursery for a while.
Yeah, so it's while it would tear up the township for a period of time, that's for sure, and be a nightmare of 35. I'm sure if that were done, that would really create one beautiful east-west causeway, or whatever you want to call it, for Ocean Township.
Yeah.
Something that we don't have today at all.
No, we were thinking of alternate routes, how to get folks. We have a plan where we could possibly get them from Deal Road to Roller Road and through a path to Sunset, and then Sunset right to the ocean on a bike path. That's something Greg and I talked about for the last year or so. And I think that's something we can do relatively easy in the meantime, just to get that connection going, at least have the east to west corridor connected at that juncture. Probably safer there than crossing Deal Road at this point, the way it is.
Yeah, and along those lines, Mayor, the point I was trying to make earlier, and I don't know if you heard that, was that, and I really, the lesson came through loud and clear this week when they redid our major gas line here on Bound Road. They put in the trunk line first, and then the access to the homes comes second. And that's the point that I think council should consider, and that is we really need trunk lines if we're going to build this pedestrian, bike, and walking system or network. If we're going to build that, we really need to put the trunk lines in before we connect all the homes to those trunk lines, because we don't know, obviously you made that point, whether NJDOT, the federal DOT, will in fact fund that kind of funding for those projects, and where they will fund those projects and how they will fund those projects. So until we know that, it's almost impossible to know where to make the connections to those trunk lines should be. So I'm suggesting that there's an order that should be considered here, and that order would be to look at the trunk lines first.
Okay. All right, well, Greg, you've heard his plan, you've looked at it. I think I emailed you something today as well. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but we'll review all that stuff. And then, you know, the main goal here is to try to incorporate Al's plan into the master plan this year. That's really what we want to do.
Okay, well, you have my input to that. So if you want, I'll forward to you the concept for development of the Highway 35 and Deal Road intersection area, which we just talked about.
Yeah, send that over. I didn't see that yet.
That to you as well.
Okay. That'll be great.
Mayor Jack Kern has something to say.
Yeah, you're on mute, Jack. There you go.
I just unmuted it. I didn't want to contribute to some of this technical conversation. One thing did come across to me, and maybe you considered it and I missed it, but we're not all by ourselves. We got other towns around us that may be doing similar things or may want to know what we're doing. So have we included them in any of our planning or communications at all? I think that's an important step.
Okay, well,
Yeah, Mayor, I had kind of addressed that earlier. One of the reasons the county is dragging their feet on our approval on some of our bike lanes is they're actually coming up with a regional plan that is going to connect all of our neighboring towns together with internet interconnection. So that is being done by the county.
right. I heard they had a plan. So I guess we'll wait and see what they roll out. But yeah, Jack, good idea. We'll see what else we can work with neighboring towns. I know as far as that stretch of highway, they pave pretty much from the Asbury Circle up to Industrial Way, actually to the Eatontown Circle. So they're probably not going to look at giving Ocean or Eatontown any other DOT funding or do any other improvements for us for a while. We might have met our allotment already.
Can I talk? Okay.
Yeah, who's that?
This is Ray Pogwas, 1308 Fina Ave. Hi. First of all, my condolences, Mr. Mayor, for your mom.
Thank you.
Now, Al, I was one of the few people that was present for your DOT presentation 10 years ago. I have to say it was the most impressive and comprehensive presentation I'd had ever seen and DOT has ever seen. And I still remember it fondly. Thank you. A question, what you were talking about Route 35 with the digging underneath, is that akin to what Monmouth University has on Cedar Ave?
Good luck.
Yes, the northern corridor with Eatontown, bordering Eatontown and West Long Branch, and eventually the Elberon section of Long Branch. That is a beautiful corridor to implement, because first of all, it will require bridges across 18 and 35, but they will be pedestrian and cycling bridges as opposed to something that's together with a vehicular traffic overpass. And the point is, okay, it takes from the industrial park in Eatontown all the way down to the train station in Elberon. the ability to interconnect people from the college, from Monmouth University to mass transit, bus transit. So it has a lot of potential for immediate development with, let's say, minimal disruption, because the overpass can be done without regrading or what have you to either Route 18 or 35. And the bottom line there is you get a big bang for your buck. Whereas in the central section, Deal Road is, and even West Park Avenue are issues that are tough to address engineering wise. And I think your township engineer might agree with me on that. As far as the southern section is concerned, when they develop 66, we need to have an input to NJDOT or the federal DOT to make sure that they develop 66 east and west to include the ability for active physical transit. And if they would do that, you know, that would help us a lot in the southern section. And maybe we could tie something in with Sunset Avenue as well in order to get access across from our industrial park and to Wegmans and the area there that people frequent, that would make sense and be easily done. But those three corridors are the trunk lines that the township desperately needs in order to make this feasible.
Right. You know, I hear what you're saying. We're, you know, getting involved with as things are happening. And I'm remembering when they put Sunset Bridge in, and I was talking with the county at the time and trying to impress upon them to put bicycle lanes in. And that went on and on for about 2 years. And they said, if we put them in, possibly the towns can put them in. And I talked with the Asbury town manager at the time, and I talked with our town, and lo and behold, they fitted the bridge to put the bicycle lanes in. And then our town put them in, and then Asbury put them in. So when you see a development going in on these roadways, I think that's the best time to interact and suggest these things.
Well, now that the nation seems to be gearing up for an infrastructure upgrade, probably now is the time to prepare all these plans that we might have, that funding would become available in the next few years to make these things happen.
Right. And I want to reiterate what the mayor said, that incorporating the bike path, the bike and pedestrian network plan that you did basically with the urban engineers of Philadelphia 10 years ago. We've had it for 10 years for a long time. We've had it published and put on the side, but never incorporated into the master plan. I think that would be the #1 step.
Yes, that and having it somehow implemented in the township, as far as a department or an authority or a utility, in order to actually take that plan and bring it into reality.
I've actually had a thought on that, and I'm thinking possibly creating a subgroup of cyclists to take that on, a kind of a group, a volunteer group that does a lot of cycling, and other people that may do a lot of walking, either recreational or weekend or for whatever reason, to take that on and push it forward.
Okay, that's something we can look into. I mean, we do want to get it into the master plan. I think Greg knows that. And our goal is, once we have the new manager in place, pedal to the metal and just get that done, master plan, everything. Whatever we
Yeah,
have to incorporate in there, we can do that as well.
Yeah, I would hate to see another 10 years go by with, nothing incorporated.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Appreciate it. Mayor,
Thanks, Al.
condolences to you and your
Thank you,
family.
sir. Appreciate it. Great. Anybody else? No? Ben, what's the next item on D?
Mayor, if we have Mr. Henshaw available, he was having trouble getting on. I don't know if he's on now.
Tom, you there? No,
We
the
see you.
microphone's on.
Not able to hear.
Can you hear us, Tom? Raise your hand. Can you hear us? We're not hearing you.
Thank you.
I was having a bad time at home too. And then I couldn't get on the internet either.
Your computer mic isn't on? I heard you before. Now you're muted.
Yep, he's green.
I do, but he's not muted on my side.
I could hear you and your wife before. I don't understand what happened.
Can we just postpone this? We could try to do it at we could try to call them separately, just so we're not delaying the meeting.
Yeah, we can do that. If you get it straightened out, Tom, before 7 o'clock, 6:30, log back in. Right now, we're not getting the audio from you. Your microphone's green, but we're not hearing you. All right? All right, pal. Well, good seeing you. Thanks for logging on.
Yeah, Tom, as you know, he just had a complete shoulder replacement surgery and he's recuperating, but he's doing pretty well and he'll be ready to go and we'll be there on Tuesday.
Okay,
And
good.
I assume the manager's office there has a computer, Vinny?
Yes, it does.
So Tom can certainly, whatever the issue is with his home computer and with this program, go to meeting, because as I said earlier today, we were okay on Zoom. But presumably when he's in the manager's office there, with Vinny's assistance, if necessary, he can get that computer running this application and perhaps set up individual meetings with you as well.
Sounds good.
But it'll be fully available starting Tuesday to all of you.
All right.
And I'll also be getting in touch with each of you. I want to meet with and interview each of you one-on-one, each of the elected officials. All righty?
Cool. Yeah, sounds good, guys.
Still no voice, sorry. Good luck with the rest of the meeting.
All right, thanks.
Here, the next item is Snell Pond update.
Oh, yeah. So who has info? Greg, what do you, we talked about this. So I've known this like all my life. We used to skate on it as a kid. And so part of the problem, I guess, was that the properties, the homeowners own right up to the middle of the lake each. So all those lots are 140 feet deep on Brookside and on Redmond. And that's just the way it was set up for years. I think the complaint of the residents now is that it does accept a lot of runoff from other streets around. So they're saying, well, the town's sending this runoff in there. Maybe they should bear some responsibility in assisting and cleaning it up. I know there used to be an association there years ago, and I think it kind of fell apart in the 90s or maybe even by 2000. But what were your thoughts, Greg, on what we could do? Make it a drainage easement, or what could we do?
Yeah, Mayor, in looking at this, we've been looking at this for quite a while now, and the problem that we had is we didn't own any of the properties around the lake. And with the Blue Acres purchases from 2017 and 18, we now own 3 lots there. So that's kind of how we've come more to the forefront and looking at figuring out how we can do this. And really we kind of thought, threw out an assessment district similar to the sidewalks, but that didn't work because we knew none of the residents would be able to afford that. So I kind of think your direction of putting it in an easement would be the best way to handle it. We're still going to probably have to, I didn't put a lot of thought into this yet because it's just kind of a new idea, but even though we put it in an easement, we're still going to need access to that pond through somebody's properties because our 3 properties are intermittent. I don't know if it's going to provide us all of the access we need to get to the east end of the pond.
Well,
But we can certainly work it out.
yeah, we can, if we're gonna do that for them, then we need to have them offer an easement on access points where we need them. I mean.
Yeah, and I'm sure they'll be accommodating. I know the lady at the east end of it where the head wall was, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, we went in and fixed that head wall for her for the whole area there because it was in a really poor shape. But she had no problem giving us access. I'm sure the rest of them will not if we're going to end up cleaning up that lake. There are some concerns that we have to discuss in the future because, one, how deep do we make it? How dangerous does that make it? And is there going to have to be a fence around it? So those are some of the things I think we're going to have to probably set up a neighborhood meeting with all the residents and kind of discuss the pros and cons of what we're going to do and some of the limited things we're going to have to probably get in there at a minimum.
As far as I remember, a couple of kids fell through the ice, but nobody really had a major problem there. A few kids got stuck in the silt and the mud there. That was it.
Yeah, normally when we dredge a pond, we like to get it to 4 feet so you don't have any plant growth in it. And certainly 4 feet a foot is deep enough for somebody to drown in. But once we get it to 4 feet, it's kind of narrow, and putting a shelf in there to get out, it's something that we're going to have to look at the design of this to make sure that it's safe as can be.
Okay.
And guys, what are you guys thinking is the ultimate goal? We're doing the easement, you want to dredge it, and it's purely for runoff to improve this?
Pretty much, it handles the runoff from those homes. They all grade into it. So everybody around Redmond and Brookside, pretty much that's what it does. It accepts their runoff. A little bit from Highwood because it comes down that hill where it turns into, and it meets Redmond over there. So you got a point there as well. So that's kind of like that northern and western corners high.
Yeah.
Right. So the goal is to reduce the flooding by dredging.
Right.
I don't know if it's necessarily going to reduce the flooding, but it's certainly going to restore the shape of the pond, which is, I think, what everybody's concerned with, because the sediment is filled in the pond, which then doesn't give any flow characteristics to the pond to get out of the drainage. So yes, in a sense, it'll help the flooding a little bit, but the main goal is to dredge it so that it's a viable pond again. It's not filled with sediment.
Got it.
Mary, are you raising your hand, Mary? You're on mute. You have to unmute your microphone.
Yes, I didn't want to until I had permission to talk. Thank you.
Okay.
And first, I wanted to thank Dave Fisher for letting me know that I could be part of this meeting with this link. I didn't realize that. And I have a question. I think I'm happy with what I'm hearing because the town is willing to clean up the pond now. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, well, we're looking how to be partners in it because we have properties there. We just, like Greg said, we need to establish access points and then come up with a plan of what we're going to do, how, budget it, and then.
I have two concerns. One is for the future because I think this would be ongoing in terms of the water continues to come in from the storm sewers. And that's my second concern, that if you look at the property, as soon as I go out to my backyard, I'm very near the pond. And if there are a lot of toxins coming in from these storm sewers, I don't even know what I'm being exposed to.
Well, sewers don't go in there. The storm drains may. I don't know what storm drains actually go in there.
They come from the roads and the roofs. And for instance, I don't use Roundup or any chemicals on my property, but I don't know what people, and I don't even know how much of the town area gets drained into this pond, the runoff, the stormwater, but it goes down roofs, through properties, across roads where cars are dripping, whatever. I just am not sure how toxic the water may be, but I do know this, that when I moved in 2008, We had bass, we had carp, we had frogs. It was just a beautiful pond. It was why we bought the house. Now they're all gone.
You had bass and carp
For
in
years, I
2008?
haven't seen fish, and this summer the frogs, gradually they were getting less and less noisy in the summer, and this summer there were no frogs noises.
Okay.
So if they're dying, I figured there must be something in the pond.
Yeah, well, we're gonna, like I said, part of the plan would be to get it cleaned up and reestablish the ecology.
Hi, guys. This is Josh, when you're talking about the pond, you talking about Whale Pond River?
No.
Can you
No, we're
identify?
talking about Snails
again?
Lake. It's a small, I think it was a man-made lake that is in the middle of Brookside Avenue and also Wells. I'm not Wells.
When you talk about Whale Pond, that brook, wake me up.
No.
Okay. We will. We'll wake you later.
All right, thank you.
We might not be
Can I
talking.
weigh in on that? This is Ray Pogust, 1308 Vina Ave again. Mary's right. The pollution she's talking about is called a non-source pollution, non-source runoff pollution. I know Greg probably knows about that. It might be a good idea to educate the people surrounding a pond, not to over-fertilize or use too many other ingredients. And excuse me. Yes.
I'm not a scientist. I don't know what it would take to detoxify the pond if it's toxic to begin with, but I would like to ask that in addition to dredging and cleaning it up now, can the town do something to prevent it from toxifying again?
Well, I think
Well, that's what my point. Yeah,
I'm
my
sorry.
point would be, okay. My point would be that the surrounding houses that run into it, that they're educated not to over fertilize, not to use pesticides and such, and maintain their property so that that runoff doesn't go into there. I'm sorry, my phone is going. There we go.
From Poplar Brook. No
Hi,
kidding.
this is, if I may, this is Eric from 410 Redmond. I'm adjacent to the pond. I just wanted to thank everyone here for putting this on the agenda and for discussing it. It's very much appreciated. It's been an issue since I moved in and long before that with the flooding, of course, and flood premiums. And this newest issue just came up a couple years ago that the pond turned green. So we had the county come out and take a look, and there's almost no oxygen in the pond. And I just wanted to clarify for the record that it's not only the houses that are adjacent that are around it that go into the pond. We're about 26 feet above sea level here on Redmond Avenue. But if you go up the street onto Wells and beyond, so Roosevelt, Wells, that's like 40 or 50 feet above sea level. So essentially the entire Oakhurst Manor flows down towards the pond and towards Poplar Brook. So there's a lot of source from this. It's not just a couple streets. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, and my concern is
lived over there on
we
Roosevelt.
can't educate all of those people and get them to, even if they reduce their use, if you add up all of the neighborhoods that are draining into our little pond, I think that as long as people use any chemicals, as long as cars drive on the streets and cars let off exhaust, there's a concern about the toxins going into our backyards and just sitting there. And I don't know if fountains would help. I don't know what it would take, but hopefully the town would have a way of finding out and dealing with it, because isn't that stormwater management?
Yeah, we're gonna look into it, Mary. That's
Thank you,
why we're
Chris.
having this
Thank you
meeting.
very much. I have to run and get a charger. My phone, my computer is running low. I'll be right back.
Don't rush.
One quick thing, Mary, this could be a great project for the Environmental Commission for you guys to take on.
Yeah, there you go. Sounds good.
Kevin is still on. Ken, that was our neighbor. Please stop talking about him and tell me what Kevin.
Ben? Vinny?
Yes. Yes.
What do we have next?
Nothing else for discussion, Mayor.
All right, we have items for closed.
Mr. Mayor, I just wanted to update you guys on one more thing.
Yes.
The last meeting we had, we talked about ocean glades and the problem that we had with the LSRP asking for an extension of time to the DEP. And you guys had asked me to look into that, and I've contacted the LSRP and our planner, our COA planner. And the problem that we had is the LSRP in doing their work out there found it's the habitat for a black crowned night heron, which is on the threatened and endangered species in New Jersey. And in doing this, that increased the buffers of the wetlands out there because of the threatened series. And in increasing the buffers, put some of the remedial work in a buffer zone, which requires a special permit to do remedial work in a buffer. That's why they asked for the extension of time. They've asked for 4 years. They think they're only going to get 2. That's still pending with the DEP. In talking with the planner, the Cindy Lane portion of our COA plan is 15% of the requirement. And she does not believe that we'll be able to push that for 2 years. You know, because that's effectively, if that is in fact when the Ocean Glades remediation work is done. So she was kind of suggesting today to me on the phone that we might want to discuss a second piece of a replacement piece of property in lieu of using Cindy Lane for the immediate future.
Okay, well, I have backups, but not that we own.
Yeah, I just don't know the timing of neither does she about how long we would be able to slide with, because it was supposed to be, Cindy Lane was supposed to be ready for development by the end of 2021. And we're obviously going to miss that by at least 2 years.
Okay.
Okay, we have right now we're extended to June of 21. Chris, it's something, you know, perhaps we should discuss and then discuss with the council, not necessarily today, but as alternatives to this, maybe property either purchase.
Yeah, I'd like to find a site that we own rather than I have sites, but they're privately owned, but folks would be willing, of course, to help us meet our COA obligation, of course, because they'll get increased density. So.
Right.
General question on that. This is Ray Pocus again. Was that the property that we were going to swap with the deal in 35 developer?
It was, yeah, they were somewhat interested, but when they found out how little we had left, they were no longer interested in the swap. So plan B on the swap was that we could just buy a piece.
I hear you, but that Ocean Glades has probably got a negative value to it, right? All the remediation that's going to have to be done. But
well, I'm not sure how much remediation it is. Apparently, this is just another factor because some of the remediation, I guess, is in this buffer area that
not really.
Yeah, what they're trying to figure out is the extent of the area that has to be remediated. That's what they actually have to go in and do core testing for.
Right.
Got it. I know that. Thank you.
Right. Is there a way to get a waiver for that bird or nest or whatever from EPA or whatever agency would do it?
Well, that's what they're going for a permit for it, and I believe they'll get it based on, you know, what we're trying to do. But it's just going to take an extra element of time.
Got it. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
He said it's going to take a lot of time, Rob.
Got it. I misunderstood that. Okay.
We won't meet that juncture.
Got it. Yep, I'm with you on that.
All right. Okay, well.
I've got a quick question for Greg.
Go ahead.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, quick question for Greg. So looks like the gas company did the paving on Cold Indian heading towards Asbury Avenue. It looks like they did some, I thought they were supposed to go from center line to curb. Looks like they kind of skimped a little bit. It looks like they kind of missed a section which may not have been problematic, but it does look a little patchy. I don't know if you've been down in that section yet.
Yeah, we'll take another look at it. We looked at it. We were there the day they were paving it, but we will take another look to see how it stands up with the joints.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Tom, I see you're on. Are you on the mic or are you just listening in? Just listening in. I guess I read sign language. Okay. All right then. Anything else you had on there?
No, and we don't have a closed session.
Chris, we didn't go over the agenda yet. We went
Yeah,
over all the items for discussion, but we have to go over the agenda.
Okay. Vinny?
Okay, so we have the minutes from December 30th, the workshop and the public meeting. For consent resolutions, we have item 21001, which accepts the performance guarantees for two properties, 212 South Lincoln Avenue and 404 Runyon Avenue, both single-family homes. So that should be moving along. Item number 002 and 003, those are standard resolutions that we do every year. One of them is just to affirm the township's civil rights policy, and one talks about our equal employment opportunity, and that we are in conformance with Title VII of the Civil Rights Act. Under individual action, we don't have vouchers this evening. So resolutions, we have 004, which is approving the temporary budget, which is 26.25% of last year's appropriations. And that hopefully will get us through until the budget gets adopted. Item 005 is a agreement that the mayor and the clerk will sign to extend the senior transportation for the municipality for the year 2021. Item 21006 is an agreement with the USDA for wildlife management for the period February 1st through September 30th, 2021. Again, same thing. It's a standard resolution we do every year with the USDA. Item 21007 is to approve our cash management plan. That's where we identify what banks we do business with, check signers, all the items that handle, that encompass our financial processes. Item 21008 is announcing our interest rates and penalties for delinquent taxes for the year 2021. And again, it's standard. It's 8% up to $1,500 and 18% for anything thereafter. Item 21009 is to identify what date we're going to hold our tax sale for anything delinquent in 2020 or earlier. And this year it'll be held on October 14th of 2021. And it's also to request that we hold it electronically, which we've done, I believe, for probably the last 6 or 7 years. It's really has become an effortless process, and we pretty much collect 100% of our delinquencies, which is really what we're trying to do. So it's a great thing for the township. Item 21010 is a resolution that we pass every year with Seacoast Chevrolet to assist our public works department. Should they get backlogged with repairs on vehicles, we have the ability to funnel some of that work over to Seacoast and push that and get that work completed in a timely fashion. Item 21011, those are our professional services contracts for, again, you see them, tax map updates, auditing services, our COA attorney, planning services, our labor council, and our COA planner. Item 21012 is to extend the maintenance agreement for Colonial Terrace Golf Course. We bid it in 2019, awarded it to Brightview Golf Course Maintenance. In the bid specs, there was the ability to extend it for 2 one-year terms. So what you're approving tonight is a 1-year extension to that agreement. Item 21013 is bids that were opened at the end of 2020 for heating and air conditioning services and snow plowing. Both of those will cover the year 2021. Item 2114 is a professional service contract with Civil Solutions to handle mapping for our sewer authority. It's part of the interlocal agreement that we have with TOSA. So it's just an additional responsibility that the township will pick up to assist TOSA. Item 21015 is the finalization of Resolution 20-203, which the governing body approved on December 2nd. And item 21016 is a change order for the 2019 roadway improvement program, in increasing it by $4,128.80 for just some additional concrete work. And then tonight, we have one adoption, ordinance 2350, which is the floodplain management regulations that were presented by the township engineer for approval.
Okay. So on those, Dave can offer the consent agenda, Margie second, and then Rob can offer the ordinance and Johnny second. So we're gonna write that down so I don't forget.
I got it, Mayor.
Good.
Just hit it, Mayor.
All right, before we take a short recess, anybody from the audience have anything? No? Okay. I think at this time we can take a recess until our general meeting at 7 o'clock. You can zoom back in or stay on this call and you'll just have that screen in front of you. Is that right, Vin? Okay. Okay, we'll recess until 7 o'clock. I'll see you guys shortly. Okay, welcome everybody. We're going to call the council meeting of January 14th, 2021 to order. Vin, take the roll call, please.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani.
Here.
Council members Atera,
Here.
Fisher, Donlin,
Here.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Here, everybody please rise, and if you don't have a flag there, turn to your right. We're going to say pledge allegiance.
Here.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty
and justice for all. We're going to remain standing for a moment of silent prayer. Great, thank you. Seated. The notice requirement for the Open Public Meeting Act for this meeting has been satisfied. A copy of the annual notice was sent to the Asbury Park Coaster, posted in Town Hall, and filed in the office of the municipal clerk on December 29th or 30th, 2019 then? Okay. I'm going to forego the fire exit instructions since we're all in a Zoom meeting here, and also forego the part about cell phones. I do ask you to mute yourselves until you have a comment. We pick up a lot of ambient noise and it does interfere with the meetings. Okay, at the end of the meeting, there will be an opportunity for open public comments. That'll be HR ordinances. Okay, so if anybody has anything germane to Ocean Township you want to talk about, we'll instruct you when the time comes. You'll also be able to comment on items on the agenda. So right now, before we open that up, I'm going to go around the horn here and starting from Johnny. John, you have anything you want to offer before we start?
Yeah, I had some comments in regard to something from last month, but I'm going to wait until the next meeting. I wanted to instead express my deepest condolences to you and your brothers on the passing of your mother, Marie Siciliano. I have to say that if anybody doesn't know who Marie is, they're not from Ocean Township, because Marie was a fixture throughout this entire community. Everybody knew and loved Marie. She has been active for many, many years, not only with the township, but with the Gavin Agency. Chris, I have, obviously very close with the family my entire life. And seeing those pictures that your brothers have put up, I look at the older shots of you, your brothers, and you, the old ones that are in black and white. You can pick out all 7 brothers easily. There was a great shot that Ricky put up, and you're sitting in there with this face on. I go, look at how mad he is. Nobody's smiling. Jerry's sitting there or standing there like the lawyer that he is, and the only one laughing is Tim. Some really good shots of you and the family, and Marie's going to be sorely missed, but I'll tell you, everybody has great memories, and Marie lived a great long life, and like I said, I just can't express enough from myself and our family the loss of your mom.
Thank you, John.
Yep.
Margie? This is the order we usually sit at our council meeting, folks. That's why we do it this way.
Well, Vera clearly has something to say. She's talking a little bit.
Yeah.
I agree with, I appreciate what John said. My condolences to you as well, Mayor, and your family. Your mom was exceptional, and there's not many women like her. Probably she was the only one, so
Yeah,
she will be missed. I did want to say about, we're in the middle of the pandemic, as everyone knows, and the vaccine is just rolling out to a greater population. Now it's available to anyone over 65 and anyone under 65 with comorbidities. So that just came out today. So I encourage everyone to get the vaccine if you're eligible. It's the beginning of the end of the pandemic. And we've worked so hard to get to this point. Unfortunately, we're in the thick of it, but this is the way out. So I encourage everyone to go to the state website, sign up, register, and look for places where it's being administered.
We'll do. Doctor's orders, right? We'll listen to that. Thanks, Marge. Is that it? Okay. Dave, are you on?
Yep, I'm on. I just wanted to wish you, Chris, and your family sincere condolences on the passing of your mom. And it's always a tough thing, but she did live a very interesting life. I did watch her special there on the YouTube, and it was amazing. So, you can smile knowing that she did some great things. And that's it. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate it. Rob?
Chris, I'm echoing the same thing. Deepest condolences. May God watch over you and your family, and may you have the comfort that you're looking for. So she was great. I didn't interact with her that much. I can remember riding home from one of the 4th of July parades with her. I took her home one year, and she told me some good stories. So it was well worth it.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate it, everybody. I really do. Thank you all for the warm thoughts and sentiment. Really do appreciate it. She was a special woman. And Marty, you're on mute. There you
I'd like
go.
to offer my condolences as well. And, I got to know Marie when we started the Ocean Township Business and Professional Association, which then became the Chamber of Commerce. She was, and I've said this to Chris, and she was one of a kind. She was not what you would call a shrinking violet. She, as Howard Cosell would say, she told it like it was. And she will be missed. She was very funny, and she was just something else. I always enjoyed when I had an opportunity to be around her. So she'll be missed.
Great. Thank you. Yes, by all. I just want to thank you guys all for that. And, Dave had mentioned, thank you to Dallas Grove and the Dallingers. They have this hometown stories at the Historical Museum. And not only my mom, but many other people who have contributed to the township over the 50, 60 years. Very interesting. So check them out. Marie's story, of course, is up there, but many others as well. So, okay, we're going to get into our agenda here. Does anybody have anything as far as our resolutions or consent agenda? If you have anything that you'd like to discuss on that before we move on to them, state your name and address for the record. You're hearing no one, we'll move right into our consent agendas here. We have the minutes of the December 30, 2020 workshop and resolutions 2101 through 2103. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
Council Members Achara,
Yeah.
Conlon,
Now you can unmute Margie.
you got to unmute yourself, Mark.
Yes.
Okay, now you go back.
Councilmember Fisher
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Also for individual action, we have 21004, approve the 2021 temporary budget. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
Members Achara. Muted, Rob.
Yes.
Councilwoman Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, that's a nice delay, Dave. All
Yes.
right, 21005, authorize the mayor and municipal clerk to execute a 2021 agreement with the Monmouth County for the Special Citizens Area Transportation, SCAT. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Sarah,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 21006, authorize the execution of an agreement with the United States Department of Agriculture for Wildlife Management Services for the period of February 1st, 2021, through September 30, 2021, at a cost not to exceed $2,623. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Sarah,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 21007, approve the 2021 cash management plan. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Sarah,
Yes, if that was me, you cut out.
okay, Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 21008, approve the 2021 interest rates and penalties for delinquent taxes, assessment, and other municipal charges. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Zachera,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. 2109, authorize the 2021 tax sale and request approval from the Director of the Division of Local Government Services to conduct said tax sale electronically. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Zachera,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 2110, authorize a contract with Seacoast Chevrolet to perform vehicle repairs for the period of January 1st through December 31st, 2021, at a cost not to exceed $30,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second?
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Zachera,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, so 2111, I'm going to read all the appointments here. Authorize professional service contracts for the year of January 1st through December 31st, 2021 to the following. Silver Solutions for our tax map updates, Sepulveda Clooney and Company, that's our audit and service. Jeffrey Serenian and Firm and Edward Nolan LLC, that's our COA, our affordable housing attorneys. Okay, James Higgins and Higgins Associates for planning services. Mark Ruderman Esquire, the firm of Ruderman and Roth, that's our labor counsel. Clark Canton and Heinz, also our COA planning. That's it. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitano,
Yes.
Councilmember Zachera,
I've voiced my concern about professional services contracts for the last couple of years. The fact that we don't go out to bid for those on a regular basis. I know we legally don't have to, but trying to be or have the fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers of the town, I think we should be going out to bid on these much more frequently. So on principle, I'm voting no on the professional services contracts.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, we do these every 3 years, Rob. You probably want to see them more frequently, but we have a clause where every 3 years folks submit their proposals. 21012, extend the maintenance agreement with Brightview Golf Course Maintenance, Inc. for the William F. Golf Course at Colonial Terrace for the 2021 season. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, because they're doing a great job, but if there's one I would put out to bid, it'd be that one. That's 200,000 a year by itself. But they did a really good job there. 2113, execute a contract for the following bids: heating and air conditioning services, Air System Maintenance, Inc., and B, private snow plowing services for Baradesco General Contractor. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, 2114, award professional service contract with Adams Raymond Hagan Associates Civil Solutions to perform mapping for the township of the Sewerage Authority at a cost not to exceed $15,000. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
council members Achara,
No.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. 2115, authorize the finalization of the provisions as stated in resolution number 2203, approved back in December 2nd, 2020. Okay, someone please offer.
I'll
Vin.
offer.
Oh, hang on, before we do that, Vin, what was that one?
That was a preliminary motion for the township manager.
Okay, gotcha. Good. Continue.
So we have a motion, we need a second.
Second. Margie.
Second.
Margie. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
council members Achara,
No.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yeah, that's for Ron to continue getting paid past and beyond the date, so yes, I'm all for that.
Oh,
No?
wait, I'm sorry. Which, no, that's not what it,
No?
no.
I appreciate,
I
I
was-
appreciate that, but that was like,
I was thinking of you, Ron.
Okay, it's regarding the former manager.
Okay, so that's over anyway. So Rob remains as a no, I'm a yes.
Okay,
2116, authorized change order number 2 for the 2019 roadway improvement program awarded to Espatata Construction, Inc. Increase of the contract amount by $4,128.80 from $1,883,478.18 to $1,887,606.98. Someone please offer.
I'll offer.
Second.
Second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes, and tonight for adoption, we have ordinance number 2350. Vin, would you read the title, please?
An ordinance adopting floodplain management regulations for the Township of Ocean.
Someone please open a public hearing on ordinance number 2350.
I'll open the public hearing on ordinance 2350.
Second.
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
council members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Anybody from the public has anything on ordinance 2350, please state your name and address for the record. Now will be the time for you to speak up.
Is this regarding the flooding?
It's a flood management plan that we're adopting.
Okay, this is, Vinny, is this regarding what I'm talking about? Why I'm here?
You can bring it up. I'm not sure if it'll cover under this, but you can bring it up. And if not, at the end of the meeting, they'll ask you to address it.
Okay, I live on 3 Well Pond Road, and if it floods,
Just
Josh,
state your
just
name.
identify.
I'm sorry?
Name and address.
Your name-
sir.
My name is Josh Citrin. I live on 3 Well Pond Road, Oakhurst, New Jersey. And when it rains, it floods.
Yeah.
And when it floods, I'm talking about I can't leave my house.
Right.
And it's so bad that I don't know what to do. And I understand in regards to my property tax has gone up $2,000-3,000 in the last 2 years because you think my property value has gone up because of that, but no one's going to buy my house because of the flooding. So I can't really understand why I'm paying that high of a property tax if I can't sell my house for that. You know what I mean? So that's one main concern I have. I'd be more than happy to pay that property tax if my house was worth that, if you fix the problem. I think the problem is the bridge that's on Whale Pond Road. I don't think it's high enough, and I don't think there's enough drainage, under the bridge to facilitate when it comes to the heavy rainstorms. If you were to fix that, I'd be more than happy to pay that property tax, but not when my house is not worth what you think it's worth. You know what I mean?
I'm going to stop you for a second. I mean, you have a valid point, which you can bring up at the end of the meeting. Not sure that what we're doing is germane to your situation. All right, so sit tight. This is our last item, then we're going to open it up for public comment. I think that's the time you can speak on that. Greg, do you want to give a brief overview again about this?
Yeah, let me start by saying the ordinance that's on for adoption tonight doesn't deal with stormwater runoff or the causes of flooding in the township. The ordinance deals with the adoption of rules and regulations concerning activities and uses of lands in the flood fringe area of the floodplain. The ordinance specifically deals with repairs of existing structures, construction of new structures in the floodplain, filling, grading, and dredging in the floodplain. This doesn't address. This isn't an ordinance that addresses the flooding. This is an ordinance that knows the floodplain is there, and this regulates anything that can and cannot be done in there, and assesses certain fines for people who are working in the floodplain without certain permits. So it doesn't really address flooding. It recognizes the flooding is there, but it addresses what we do in the floodplain so it doesn't get worse.
Great. Okay. Thank you for that. Anybody else in the public have any comment about this ordinance before we move on?
Yes, Dennis Howlett, 1638 Holbrook Street.
Okay.
Who was just speaking? Who's attendee 20?
That's our engineer, Greg Blash.
Oh, hi. Okay. I don't think I've ever seen your face before. I have a couple of questions. Out on the website, I believe it's still there. The existing stormwater management plan was written by Mazur Associates. I think it's still valid up till now. Is that correct? What is out there?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Was Mazur Associates involved in the new plan?
No.
No.
This plan, it's really the reason we're adopting this now is the town is up for our recertification for the CRS program. That's our rating service for how the rate that everybody's insurance in the township is. And this is one of the requirements of that service. Of the government, they're making us adopt this new version of this as part of that recertification.
Okay.
But it's essentially the same exact ordinance that was adopted previously with a couple of minor changes.
Well, this is the one from a couple of months ago that pretty much we had to go through pro forma to get this adopted so we meet the basic requirements. But this plan can be modified going forward or addended,
Yes.
amended?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm.
Done.
Thanks, Dennis. Anybody else? Okay, seeing and hearing nobody, make a motion to close the public hearing. on that
Actually,
ordinance?
Mayor,
Hi.
before I make that, can I just clarify Dennis's question and make sure we're talking about the same thing? Because I asked Vinny that same question this morning. So, Greg, Dennis is asking about the floodplain. I think that conversation we had was regarding stormwater management.
Yeah, I think he asked the question, is this is similar to the last ordinance we passed where we were fulfilling certain minimum requirements. And as we go forward with mostly the master plan, I think that opens up just about every ordinance in town that we have, one of which would be stormwater. And that's where this will be addressed also. So
Okay,
I think
fair
that's what he's referring to, is this will be addressed again in the near future.
Got it. Fair enough. Thank you.
This is the stormwater plan.
No, this is flood management.
So was this brought up in a prior meeting? I thought we were talking about the stormwater proposal.
Well, this was introduced at the last meeting, and now it's being adopted. It's open for discussion tonight. And I think Mr. Blash was explaining that it's an add-on to what we have for future development, but not a final document. In other words, it could be amended, augmented, strengthened. We can add to this as we do the master plan. We can incorporate more as far as that goes. Okay.
Okay, then I was mixing up stormwater management and floodplain, but it is what I thought it was. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we do an elevation in towns, as Greg mentioned, so we can determine, or insurance companies will determine your elevation and what your risk is. Okay. Anybody else on this ordinance?
Yes. Mayor Jackie Bunzel.
Yeah.
Also, my condolences, Mayor. I'm sorry to hear about your mom.
Oh, thank you.
I also enjoyed watching her on the historic site, and she had a good sense of humor. I wanted to just ask, in terms of, say, projects that are not fully approved yet, maybe with DEP or DOT, speaking specifically of the 32-acre corner, would any of the new part of this ordinance change things that were approved there that might be stricter going forward? Or can anyone on the board here speak a little bit about the this flood management?
Yeah, our engineer just gave an overview of it, but he can answer that question. It's not going to interfere with any existing approvals, I'll say that.
Well, just because, as we brought up quite a bit at the meetings, the north end of that property in Oakhurst, just like the gentleman on Whale Pond, they flood all the time. So I'm wondering, as we're looking at better restrictions, sorry, my husband's coming in the door there. As we're looking at strict restrictions, possibly, would it amend anything? Could we amend anything that's already been approved? For example, the development so close to the wetlands.
No.
And there is flooding and a lot of excess water there. Since it
No, you
hasn't been
can't.
approved yet, would it,
No.
there's nothing that can, it won't affect anything there
No,
because it's been approved already by the planning
Yes.
board?
correct.
Okay. I guess I would like to just wonder, with such a big project, why we hadn't maybe it kind of seems like we put the cart before the horse in
Well, we've
terms.
talked about this ad nauseum. You have an appeal pending. I guess take it up there. I don't know what else to tell you, Jackie. Right now, we're talking about this ordinance.
Well, I understand. I guess I just wanted to understand, what are the restrictions then on the new ordinance? Can anyone speak on it?
Right.
What are the
Greg will go over it one more time with you. Go ahead, Greg.
Yeah, the ordinance deals specifically rules and it's for rules concerning activities of use of lands in the flood fringe area of the floodplain. It specifically deals with existing, modifications or refurbishing of existing structures, construction of new structures, filling, grading, and dredging in the floodplain areas. It does not deal with stormwater runoff. It deals with the aftermath of that. This is to regulate the floodplain so that people aren't doing things in the floodplain to further damage it.
But wouldn't we consider the 32-acre spot a floodplain, considering the runoff into Oakhurst?
Well, this would certainly, this regulation was in place when the 32-acre development was approved. This has slight modifications, so anything that they have done there would certainly have been covered by the last ordinance. So this really wouldn't affect that, even if it was in place.
This is a change more in form than in substance.
Yes, it's just to change some of the wording and a couple of the nuances with respect to the height above the floodplain that a residence has to be built at. That's about the major substantial change that's in this ordinance. Everything else is pretty much the same, other than new buzzwords.
So okay, so I guess I can pick it up on the public portion. I guess I would like to know then, since there is flooding there, how are we addressing the flooding in town if it's not going to be addressed in this ordinance? How will we be addressing it?
Great, good question for the end of the meeting. Anybody else on this ordinance? No? Okay, make a motion to close the public hearing on this ordinance.
I'll make a motion to close the discussion on ordinance 2350.
Second,
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
Council Members Achara,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
yes, action please on ordinance number 2350.
I move to approve ordinance 2350 and, as everybody likes, publish according to law.
Second,
I'll second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
Council Members Achara,
Yes.
Conlon,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
yes. An ordinance been moved. At this time, we're going to open up the floor for public comments. Be mindful that you have a lot of guests on here. We're going to keep our comments to 5 minutes as always, and I give everybody an opportunity. If you have anything to say germane to the township, now would be the time to state your name and address for the record.
Josh.
You have, can folks remotely, is this for
Thank you.
folks in the, are there
This is
people
the-
present?
This is it. Whoever's on this meeting, now would be the time if you have anything public comment. Now would be the
There's no in-person people tonight.
All right, this is Josh Citron on 3 Well Pond Road.
yes.
I had major flooding. I'm talking on behalf of my neighbors as well, on 5 Well Pond and across the street from me. When it really rains, we don't only have flooding, we have rapids. And I'm not exaggerating. Waters go rapid across the street into the neighbor's yard and floods our backyard like a pool. We can't leave the house.
How long you live there, Josh?
It's coming up on 3 years.
Okay.
And it's
I'm
happened.
very familiar with that area you're talking about, and I avoid it during heavy rains. I have for 30 years.
Yeah.
Maybe even longer. I know when Marty lived there, we were kidding around. He lived there, and it behaved the same way. You're in an area where 3 towns share that brook there. So it's Ocean, Eatontown, Longbridge. Actually, 4, it heads down to Longbridge at the end. But so we looked into that over the years. Greg, I think you've been involved in some of the trying to remediate over there. Anything you want to offer about that?
No, it's just the problem is it's not a local problem. It's a very complex regional problem, and the problem that we have is to bring people to the table that are upstream of us is virtually impossible because they're not being impacted. Being the Eatontown area, they're higher, much higher than the ocean side, so they have no flooding from the Whale Pond Brook. So they're tough to bring to the table, and they have a big industrial park that lines pretty much the north side of that brook. So it's very difficult to get them to the table. We've been fighting with them, not fighting, but discussing with them for years, trying to come up with ways to reduce their flow into the stream. But it's very difficult.
Yeah, we've had clean outs, we've organized parties there. We've even had, at one point, we had permission from the mosquito commission to go in and cut back a lot of the growth and vegetation, and I think even hydro raked maybe, I don't know at one point, but yeah, it is a problem, Josh, and it's one that's difficult to solve. I'll say that.
Okay, and I understand it's a problem, Mr. Mayor, but you had no problem raising my property tax.
Well, no, there's a solution to that. It's called a tax appeal. You go in and you bring in your evidence that you think this is why, show them the flood, this is why my property.
I brought it to a lawyer, and they told me that's not going to help you because they don't look at that. So they don't care about, there's flooding or, flooding. They just care about what your property values. So, I have no problem paying my property tax, but I can't get the value for my house if I was to sell it right now. What you think?
Josh, I think what the mayor's trying to say is when you file a tax appeal, when you're taxed based on the value of your home. If you're saying that the value that's placed on your home for your taxes is not the true value because you couldn't get that if you sold it, Well, that's the basis for a tax appeal.
Yeah.
If you're saying my taxes are high, although I could sell it for that price, that's a different issue. Now, the mayor has said, and I've indicated, I live there. I know exactly what you're talking about when we'd have a big rain or a heavy snow and the snow would melt. Pretty much the house was like on an island. The water would come from across the street, and you'd be like on top of this island with the water coming across the street and then behind the house, and your house stayed pretty much dry, but you couldn't get out. I mean, we used to take our cars, and instead of when we knew a big rain was coming or something was happening, and we'd move them to another block so that we could get out in the morning if we had to. So yeah, it was a problem. And then we also had a problem in the crawl space, which I think we solved. Hopefully it's still solved, but we widened that pipes. Huh?
Sump pump?
Well, we had a sump pump, but the sump pump would not handle it. Plus there was something wrong with the checkoff. It's a long story. But the bottom line is.
No, the bottom line is I'll be more than happy to pay the property taxes that you think my house is worth if I can get that value. That's what it comes down to.
Well, but that's an issue. If you say that, if they say your house is worth X amount of dollars and you think it's worth $100,000 less than that, and you can prove that because of your flooding issue, you can have experts come in and say that, and that would be the basis for a tax appeal and reduce your taxes. It's not going to solve the problem. The problem's been there for 50 years. The problem is.
You think they will solve it? Do you think I should sell my house and get out now while everyone's fleeing Cuomo, New York City?
Well, I can say that we sold the house at some point. We sold it for a profit from what we had bought it for. I don't know what you bought it for. I don't know what you could sell it for. I'm not going to advise you.
If you are who I think I bought it the same price you sold it for.
I doubt that.
No way.
I doubt that because I sold it for $112,000. Did you buy it for $112,000?
No.
If you bought it for $112,000,
you have nothing to complain about.
No,
I bought it for $69,000. You see all this white hair? I'm old. Where there is hair. So it was a while ago. It was a couple of years back.
Okay.
But the bottom line is, my guess is you probably paid less when you bought it because of the flooding, and you will sell it hopefully for a profit, but I don't know. But you paid less because of the flooding as well.
No, because the people that bought the house owned it for 2 years and it never flooded, so they didn't lie. So they said there was no flooding, so I bought it.
Well, we thought the people that sold it to us lied, but we lost that lawsuit. Go ahead.
I heard about that from the neighbors. I became friends with the neighbors across the way, and they mentioned you. They liked you.
Well, I'm a local guy for some people.
Listen, we should chat offline. If I'll tell you this, Josh, we'll look into again trying to get a tri-town municipal agreement and seek grant money to try to make any improvements. But I think as Greg, our engineer, alluded to, there's more involved than even just the tri-towns. It's getting people to buy in upstream, because when you widen a pipe, you go from a 12 to a 15 inch or 15 to a 30. You're jetting a lot more flow upstream or downstream, however you want to call it, and eventually may affect other properties down the line. And that's why they usually don't come on board with this. Same problem we're having at the trellis over there in Deal, in the New Jersey Transit. They don't want any part of that for that reason. People in Deal do not want that brook being any wider than their, multi-million-dollar properties in the backyard. They like it a little Babylon Brook, just the way it is. But at any rate, we will look into it again for you, brother.
I appreciate it. It's just my concern is, I have 2 young kids and I just don't want them to drown,
Understood. Yeah.
That's it. I mean, I have flood insurance. I have a home insurance. I just don't want my kids to drown.
Understood. Okay. We'll see what we can do. We can move it any further.
And my condolences, sir.
Thank you very much. Anybody else have anything from the public? State your name and address for the record.
Jackie Wenzel, 610
Okay.
Road. I guess I just picked back up on the flooding. It sounds like it's been flooding for a long time, years, obviously, since Mr. Arbus just brought that up. What can we do in town? I mean, I know, I also wanted to talk, Chris, about, the tree ordinance. I don't know if Margie wants to speak on it since she's coming from the Environmental Commission. But, the continual clear cutting of trees certainly takes away the opportunity of having trees, suck up some of that water, and the pervious ground cover and all the things that we've addressed during, the planning board meetings for 32 acres. But there's, it's a real fact. If all the soil is being covered in parking lot, it's going to just create more flooding. So what can we do? Like, what is the plan? Is there a plan, and can we start to get a plan together?
Yeah, I think we have a plan now. We're always trying to improve it. I mean, that's why we make these amendments or, when you incorporate a new master plan, you try to put in as much as reasonable that's in there to amend these ordinances, be it the tree ordinance or flood control measures on new construction, things like that. So that is the plan. It's the only plan you really can go with, Jackie, short of a $1 billion infrastructure rebuild.
But maybe it's something we can do over time, maybe get the state, just like the state offered a grant for the bicycle and pedestrian walkway. Maybe we can get some funding. It just seems like, here it sounds like a terrible story. He really has serious flooding. I've heard all those stories from people in Oakhurst, and yet that project went forward, it got passed. I think we just have to be more careful about what we're approving in terms of more density and development, and perhaps and more time, or maybe giving developers some kind of a tax break to redevelop so many of the properties now that are vacant before we cut into any more of the soil and cover it over, would be something that you might consider.
Well, that's a redevelopment plan, which we don't have. We have a rehabilitation plan that we're working on, but redevelopment's a different animal, and it still almost doesn't preclude a property owner from developing his property. Redevelopment, you can control the way it's being developed, but along with that, you have to offer tremendous tax incentives that usually that would stimulate an urban area that had blight for many, many years. We really don't have that, although you may think that, but if you look on our highway and you look at CV Square, there's been improvements annually. Folks are buying in and investing. So I don't think we fall into that category. Doing that.
All the wetlands area on the 32 acres, if that were to go forward, will be covered in asphalt. So we're going to have more flooding.
No, it's not. That's not true at all. None of the wetlands will be covered in asphalt. And you know it. It's 52% of that property will have impervious coverage. None of the wetlands is going to be touched, and you know that.
No, not the wetlands. They're right next to the wetlands, though. Okay. So water that would be going into that soil is now going to, be much more intense at the wetlands, which becomes intense at Poplar Brook. I mean, I guess listening, to it really wasn't what I was going to discuss today was flooding. It's just that the other resident had brought it up, and then Marty said it's been 20 years, and I'm like, this is going on so long. What can we do about it?
Yeah, I'll tell you that, a lot of the problems in Ocean Township are from planning from the 60s and even earlier, where they really didn't give a lot of thought to flood management or flood control. And a lot of homes and subdivisions in West Deal Park were built in an area that we wouldn't build today. But they're built now, and now you have to try to cope with it. And, we try to do underground drainage, and those pipes aren't big enough. And it's one problem begot the other, and it's existing now. Now you have to cope with it. And what do you do? And that's the conundrum.
So, like, if we looked at the town on a map and we see how much is green and how much is developed, could we get to a point? Like, are we at a point now we cannot develop anymore? Like, is there a point where you just say we just can't cover any more soil because there's nowhere for the water runoff to go as is? It's already, maybe we are already slightly overdeveloped. I mean, I just feel like something really needs to change, because here again, as I wrote in my pre-letter to you, what happened on 87 Monmouth Road, that whole front landscape has been torn up, and I don't know how we're regulating the trees anymore. I know Ed Figlia had brought up a new tree ordinance. Have you gone any farther with what he had presented? Margie?
No, we have it, and what we need to do is have a workshop meeting where, like we did last time, when we amend the tree ordinance, we just don't amend it here at council. We like to get input from believe it or not, the tree surgeons themselves, the guys that actually cut the trees down. And we get input from them as well because they work in that arena. And so it's important not to just impose stricter and stricter regulations without involving them or giving them the heads up on what's going to happen. Me personally, now that I had a tree fall on my house, I'm thinking that we add to the tree ordinance a tree maintenance paragraph that says you have to maintain these dead and dying trees and you have to take them down. And what we can do is make a special assessment for you. If you can't afford to take them down, we can take money from the shade tree, which is very robust, and give it to you and then add that to your property tax on a 5-year special assessment or something. But some dangerous trees exist out there. Folks are apprehensive about taking them down because they cost too much money and they're going to kill somebody one day.
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, that's tree maintenance. So would that fall under then the Shade Tree Commission? Would they be in charge of that?
Not in charge, they can have input.
So who would police it basically?
Well, it becomes a, maintenance. I will have to somehow have an inventory, and hopefully homeowners themselves, if they know that there's a way to help them get rid of these trees, maybe they'll step up and say, hey, I have 3 trees I've been wanting to take down. I really can't, but I'll take that $200 a year add-on assessment, throw it on my property tax for 5 years and use that shade tree money to finance my tree removal. I think that's a great idea.
Do you know if the folks at 87 Monmouth paid for the trees they removed?
I'll have to look into it. I did send an email earlier that asked about their permits and whatnot. And, when I get it back. Ron, you have any info on that one?
We had Hank go out there and take a look at it, and the trees, they did not take more than 4 trees down that qualified under the tree ordinance. So they complied, and he also met with the owners of the property. So they did comply with our present tree ordinance.
Okay.
Oh, they,
So no contribution required.
No contribution required.
So, hey, Ron, I apologize, just because I've always been curious about this. How do we, and I'm not questioning you, but how do we know that? How do we know that those trees didn't qualify if they're down already?
Well, the greatest part about that is Google Maps. That really does help us in our tools. I would tell you 10 years ago, we didn't have any tools, and you wound up having people going out there and saying, I promised there were only 3.
Got it.
Now,
okay.
They can't keep up with the technology.
Perfect. Good. Okay. Thank you. Good answer.
But I mean, there may be 3, but these trees look pretty, the trunk of the trees look pretty big to me.
It's measured at breast height.
Excuse me?
The measurement of a tree is taken at breast height, not at the trunk. If you have a very large trunk of a tree and it comes up to be a very skinny tree, it's at breast height is where we measure trees.
Yeah, but that's not the case. In this particular tree, it's broader at the breast height, depending where your breast is.
Yeah.
It's
and that's part of the problem also.
So Ron, no, these people just took it down and then told you what was? I wish I could.
We sent Hank over there because we had heard that they were taking down trees. By the time we got there, the trees were down. We compared Google Earth Street View with what was out there and found that they had not violated the tree ordinance.
Well, I'll send you the photographs that I have of that. I mean, actually, you could just look on Zillow. They're there. It's right on that site. That's how I got mine. And the 2 in front are quite mature trees. They don't look diseased. They're just, it was just kind of shocking. It looks like a plucked chicken. It's like there's not a bit of green on that property right now. And I guess, when people buy a property that has trees, I guess part of that conversation should have before they close on it, what our conditions are. And so Margie, has the tree ordinance been passed then and updated? Are we in what Ed had and Ken had presented, or is it still in negotiation?
We had reviewed it at the council level back in November, I believe. And then bumped it back to the Shade Tree Commission, and they're still working on it. So they're going to send it back to us when they've made some revisions and addendums, and then we'll put it on the agenda to pass. We'll have it on discussion again in a workshop meeting, and then move forward from there. So right now it's in the Shade Tree Commission again, working on some additions and updates. We're waiting to get it back from them.
I gotta warn you
Well,
though, about 10 years ago, I'm gonna say, we revised the tree ordinance and we cut it back to, you couldn't take any more than 3 trees a year, I believe. It was something like that, or maybe 2. It was something really onerous. Anyway, that ordinance lasted about 8 months before the room was packed with people revolting. We had to reverse it. Just telling you, that happened.
But how long ago was that, Mayor?
10 years ago, about 10.
I think today with climate change being much more in the forefront of everybody's mind, it might be
Maybe.
different. I think the younger people moving into town are more aware than, listen, we all thought we could throw things in the ocean and it would just disintegrate. And people think differently about that now. So, yeah, I guess if this tree ordinance is progressing, I guess it would be nice to kind of understand what the regulations are and if we're getting a little stricter about it. I think for Ron Kirk to get a call once the trees are already down there should be a penalty for that. People, when they're buying a home, they have to get, there is a certain amount of paperwork that gets signed at the township. We should somehow, when we do inspections or they do inspections during that period, I would like to see more policing on it, because when, I pass that property, but people, obviously, because it's say 32 acres, whenever a tree is coming down, people go, do you know what they're doing? They're taking more trees. They'll call me now as if I'm the tree alert person, but I don't know who to call about that. And then when I bring it up here, I know it sounds repetitive to all of you, but it would be nice if there was like a tree hotline or something where you could call and say, listen, people are starting to take down trees. What do you think, Jack?
Just to add to you, Jack Kearns on Beecroft Place. I would say that a real estate agency should not be able to take down trees before they sell the property so that they can sell the property. Does that bother anybody? I mean,
Well, it may bother the homeowner. I don't know.
South.
Has nothing to do with the real estate agent. They can't take anybody's trees down. They don't own the properties. Only the property owner can take a tree down.
Oh.
Realtor can ask for them to cut the grass or clean up your property, but realtor can't. I can't go to your house and take your tree down.
Oh. But you could make a condition of selling it, couldn't you?
I mean,
I got to tell you, I've never seen that as a condition of selling it, that a tree's coming down.
Unless it was a old deadly tree, and a buyer could say, listen, as long as you take that tree that's going to fall my house down, I'll buy it. That probably has happened before.
Well, I would understand that. We should be there telling them they can take it down.
Right.
The thing is still up in the air. It's been there for a while. You dropped it from 3 to 4 to make it easier for people who move down from the city and don't know what the hell a tree is to cut them down. That way they don't have to rake leaves. Thanks.
That's one theory. All right.
No, it's a real theory. It's not theory.
You're saying we did that to make it easier. Nobody did that intentionally or maliciously to make it easier for anybody.
Somebody just said they were pressured to change the law.
I can tell you right now that our planning department was going crazy with the tree ordinance. That's a fact. That was one of their biggest complaints, that it was constant, never ending. It was a problem because on the one hand, you want to preserve the trees. On the other hand, I own a piece of property and I decide I want, whether it's putting a pool in or whatever they're doing, I don't want these trees there. There were properties that had a whole bunch of trees that were removing 3, and they said, "What, are you kidding me? I couldn't remove 3, 4 trees. I got 100 on here." So it was a very difficult process. And when you're doing it again, you want to make sure you do it right without creating the problems that were created last time.
And not impact your voting support. Okay, that's fine. Be political. I don't care.
Well, I had a situation happen, Marty, in my backyard where our neighbor started cutting down. I woke up at like 8 in the morning and it was like a nightmare for me. I heard this buzzing and noise, and she was basically taking all the trees down in her yard. And when I called the township, I spoke to a woman and she said, well, we don't get involved in neighborhood. Trees are a neighbor to neighbor issue, and we don't get involved in that. You'll have to go talk to her yourself. And when I went to talk to her myself, the folks doing the trees, the guy came over, he was extremely aggressive, and he almost like pushed me off the property. So I think maybe, and I'm not going to talk about this anymore tonight, I promise. Maybe we could have a hotline where somebody from maintenance or someone from our own, some other kind of big guy can go out, and if the hotline is say, listen, someone's taking down more trees, because it does affect the flooding in town. It does, because trees suck up water, and when they're not there, and parking lot or very, certain groomed lawns don't absorb the same kind of tree waterfall. So I think maybe that's something we'll just pick up another time. Maybe there's a hotline, someone that, they can call if the trees are coming down. And then I also, Chris, I won't bring it up, and I realize, I'm sure you're having a tough week. I'd like to, at the next meeting, talk about establishing maybe something like stricter historic preservation. I know we have a historic museum, and they're very informative in terms of teaching us, but certain communities like Red Bank or Montclair, New Jersey, or Ocean Grove, Bradley Beach, they have really much stricter historic preservation. And even if you do something new, keeping more within the character of the town versus something, we're having an onslaught of homes coming out now that are very generic. They look like they're bought online or in a catalog. It's just like a square cement box. And that's really not in keeping with the type of character that I think many of us came to Ocean Township for. It was the eclectic mix of kind of old, like early American homes with some sprinkling of mid-century modern homes. And there was a lot of diversity in terms of design. And it's been a very interesting looking town. And right now it's becoming kind of cookie cutter with what's happening. And it's happening at such a rate, I'm getting kind of worried about it, because I don't know if I would want to live in a place that looks like all these cement boxes. So I think sooner than later, it would be nice to establish a historic preservation office where the person in charge of that would, from Google Maps, comb every street, take photographs of what really looks significant, and see what value is there and catalog it. So if anyone buys one of those homes in that catalog, that you all agree, these are homes that should be preserved and restored.
Well, we can talk about it in a later meeting. There's going to be a lot to talk about. That's imposing restrictions on properties, which affects value, because the homeowner, you just can't do that to somebody if they don't want to do that. And you mentioned it, eclectic. Some homes will be like, we're not like Ocean Grove, where 100% of it was built in 1878. That's not Ocean Township. We have craftsman style homes that were built out of catalogs from Sears catalogs, which are very interesting homes. So we have a pretty eclectic mix, like you mentioned, but we can talk about that at another meeting. That's fine.
Yeah, because I'm worried they're going to looking to try and destroy Copper Gables. And that's another beautiful home in town that I'd hate to see destroyed. And that's it.
Yeah, that's probably going to be destroyed. Anyway, anybody else? You had a nice
Maybe they could protect.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe they could protect our township of gracious living. That might be something worth doing.
We can do that.
I did have one question,
Sure.
if I may, before. I was concerned about our last town manager being fired, and never really understanding the why behind it. Besides,
Well, I can tell you why, Jack. 4 out of 5 of us thought he wasn't. Listen, we can talk about it a little bit right now. He's past his time frame. The gentleman now, I'm not going to say too much, except for 4 out of 5 of us thought he wasn't doing the job adequately. We wished him luck. He moved into a situation now. He has a better job in an area which he'll probably thrive. So I'm not going to say anything negative about him, because maybe they're tuned into our meeting. I want the guy to succeed over there. But we just felt he wasn't doing the right job for this town, and that's really the bottom line. Okay.
Yeah, we're not going into detail, Jack. He's working somewhere else. God bless him. And,
Sorry, Marty. I wasn't talking to you, Marty. I was talking to the mayor, if that's okay with you.
Hopefully,
I was hoping that maybe each of the council people would express their own opinion as to why they voted the way they did. I think that would be appreciated.
And Jack, you may not be talking to me, but I'm advising the council not to do that. And he could have requested a meeting. He didn't want a meeting. At this point, the issue is closed. There's no reason for every council member to give his comment. Okay?
Are you running the meeting? Are you running the meeting, Marty?
No, I'm advising people, Jack, that I'm entitled to do as a lawyer.
So I think what he's saying, Jack,
if they're asked,
Mr. Basila has moved on. He's happy where he is. He's not here. We're looking for a new manager. And pretty much, I think what I stated I summarized that we felt he wasn't doing an adequate job. I'm going to leave it there. Me personally, that's all I'm going to say about it because I don't want
That's
to
fine. I just wonder,
jeopardize his position where he is really.
I just wonder what changes have to be made to compensate for the shortfall that was coming to us for the past 3 years, and how is that going to be fixed? And did
We're going
everyone
to do that
recognize the
by,
face? I'm
right.
sorry, I didn't mean to ask you a
It takes a
question.
lot of work really picking a qualified candidate. That's all. It's a lot of work on our end and on our search committee or the person we've hired, the company we've hired. So we're counting on them to bring us
I understand.
top
What are the
candidates.
things what are the things that were shortfalls that you want to improve on is all I'm asking.
Yeah, just general township items. And I'm just going to leave it. I'm not going to embellish anymore because it's going to lead to something else. And I'm not going there, Jack. Okay.
Sorry
We want a
about
better
that. How
place.
about the
We
rest
want
of
to
you?
continue
Are
to
there
have
any
a
other
really nice place to live.
do any of the other council people have a comment they'd like to add?
What are you doing? Vinny, mute him. It's Robert.
That's not fun.
Maybe Josh will get flooded out. Let him play.
I don't know whose phone that is, but can you
Hey, Josh,
turn that off?
hey, how to conduct a meeting, buddy?
Not funny.
Not funny at all.
Let him
I
off,
don't know
Vinny.
who was,
May I,
yeah, I don't know who's doing that.
I have something I'd like to raise if I get an opportunity.
Sure.
Yes, Dennis Howlett, 1638 Holbrook Street. I have a short thing I'd like to read. I'll just go ahead and start reading it. It should be less than 5 minutes. During the planning board meetings for the Paramount development of Deal Road and Route 35, there was concern about safety regarding truck and auto traffic, pedestrians, and bicycles. Pedestrian and bike traffic was largely ignored by the traffic experts and the applicant. I'm concerned about two specific threats. Since the construction has not really begun, there's still time to address these issues. Before I start, I'd like to define one term, and that is a rat run. It's the practice of motorists using side streets or shortcuts like a parking lot instead of intended regular roads to avoid delays. First, the library. The addition of a signalized entry exit to the library via the Logan Road extension is a well-intentioned but seriously flawed idea. Eastbound traffic would be able to make a left at the signal to access the library instead of having to wait for a break in traffic on Deal Road where the entrance is now. And that's an improvement. It's not a pressing need, but it's an improvement. It's not that hard to turn into the library parking lot right now. Traffic exiting the library would be able to make a left turn onto Deal Road using the new exit with a signal. That would be really nice. But making the library parking lot a rat run for the new complex and the loss of 3 parking spots is too much to give up. You might ask, how will that become a rat run? Well, westbound Deal Road traffic that wants to access either the townhomes or the businesses and see that they might be stuck at the Logan Road traffic light could cut through the library parking lot. And don't think people will not do that. There are at least 70 candidates that I can think of, the townhome owners and guests, plus any employee of a business who is late for work. It only takes one bad driver in the town center, from the town center, to have a real tragedy. Think of who uses the library and the museum the most: children and senior citizens. Also, the road in front of the museum is particularly narrow. If you're going to do this new parking lot configuration, then at least for traffic coming out of the new library parking lot, make it impossible for them to turn into the complex. It should exclusively be an exit to Deal Road. Library patrons could still make a safer left onto Deal Road, and they can get to the new complex just like anyone else. Second, don't allow traffic exiting the new complex to make a left turn into the library for drivers who think they can save time by avoiding the Logan Road light. With these restrictions, there'd be no reason to cut through the library parking lot, and you'd retain the two major benefits of the entrance exit. Don't forget who comprise much of the library and museum patrons, seniors and kids. Parents often leave their kids at the library to study. It's a safe haven. I'll talk about kids more later. The second topic, I was a Little League coach for 10 years, 5 with my daughter and 5 with my son at Colt Field. Our town has a great mix of kids from all types of backgrounds. Many kids walk or ride to Colt Field. On Friday nights in particular, kids and their parents who do not use cars on Friday nights often rode their bikes to the fields. I was lucky enough to have some of these kids on my teams. After Friday night games, I'd often follow them home in my car to make sure they got home safely. I'm sure I'm not the only one that did that. I'm concerned with increased traffic. Will kids still be able to ride their bikes safely to Colt Field? At a planning board meeting for the development of the corner of Deal Road and Route 35, I asked the traffic expert how someone who worked at the proposed bank on Deal Road would walk to Chick-fil-A for a lunch, all the way across the parking lots on the other side of the jug handle. And I said, would they have to walk through the jug handle? The traffic expert said yes, but Mr. Fitzgerald interjected that there is a way to do it on sidewalks, but it would be very circuitous. In my experience, parents drop off their kids at Colt Field to watch their siblings play or just to hang out with friends. It's a safe place. They come back later to pick them up. But now a new attraction will be close by, the Chick-fil-A. I can easily imagine a youngster wanting to make his way to the Chick-fil-A before mom and dad come back to pick them up. I'd like to know how they would walk or ride their bike safely to the Chick-fil-A, up Logan Road, over Deal Road, through the urban jug handle with 8 curb cuts, incomplete sidewalk, and no shoulders. I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you they won't be taking a safer but circuitous route to the Chick-fil-A. It will become an attractive nuisance. Rat runs will put people in jeopardy in the library parking lot, on Dwight, Dennis, Donald, Doreen, Shadowlong, and Logan roads. Somebody's going to get hurt. Thank you for your attention.
Great, thank you. Anybody
Excuse
else?
me 1 second. Yeah, I just want to just comment to that Kenneth Siegel from the DOT says that there are great problems with the road design as it is today, and that they are redesigning the roads. So that maybe you could get in touch with him and express what you're saying now, because they already seem to be aware of the pedestrian problem. I don't know if it's specific to the one you've just pointed out, but they said they have problems with the pedestrian walkway part and just the road design in general. So I guess, Mayor, I'd also like to know if they're going to change the road design, impose a road design change, how will that have to go to the planning board again?
No, it already did, Jackie. They're not going back to the planning board.
But if they change the design, that won't be the
What
design.
design are they changing? They're not changing anything. They're doing what they were approved to do. They're
No,
not changing anything.
the design of the road layout is being changed according to the DOT.
They might be amending it through DOT, just taking their recommendations. I think their approval is based on subject to DOT recommendations, but not something you normally have to go back to the board for.
They're not approving it until the changes.
Okay, so they have to comply with whatever changes, I guess, are recommended by DOT. Doesn't necessarily mean they have to go back to the planning board now.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right, you're welcome.
Is there somebody in the police department who's a traffic pedestrians?
Yes, we have traffic division. You can call down there. It was Lieutenant, or he's now Captain over there. So you can call the police department if you like.
Who's the captain? Who's that?
Todd.
Gregory.
Yeah, Todd Gregory, I think. May still be running it.
Yeah, I think he is. He actually is available for meetings.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
Oh,
Mayor, what did you say?
No, he was recently promoted, so I'm not sure if somebody backfilled his position on that, but call down there, ask for him.
Okay.
He's very well versed in traffic in Ocean Township.
Okay. One other brief comment. I did see in the coaster that they, an article announcing this meeting and what the topics were going to be. It was good to see that beforehand, before the meeting.
Right. Anybody else who hasn't had an opportunity to speak, have anything you'd like to talk about?
Yes, David Weiner, 1216 Walnut Avenue. Mayor,
David Weiner or Weiner?
don't start. Remember Ali Terrell. What's my name? First of all, your mom was a true in Yiddish balabusta. I commented on how great she was in that video. But any woman had to raise 7 boys. I couldn't. I don't know how she kept her sanity at all. With all due respect, with you being example, and I meant that nicely. Secondly, personal matters are precluded from public discussion by the council via the Open Public Meetings Act, unless the employee or former employee requested it be discussed in writing. It's precluded legally. Thirdly, I'm asking the mayor, did you state that the professional contracts are all put out to bid after they've been in place for 3 years?
No, we discussed a few years ago, we decided to request proposals every 3 years from our professional services, just to kind of keep them in mind. Mr. Blash, of course, knows he goes through the same exercise of Akin, and Mr. Higgins has done it. So yes, they all do submit. What, Ron, about every 3?
About 3.
Are they formally evaluated the same as a bid would be?
There's different criteria for professionals than there are for a contractor. The contractor is the lowest responsible bidder.
I know that. Respectfully, I know that. But what I'm asking is it, so it's really an exercise as opposed to something that's mandatory and is more substantive than a bidding process, correct?
We do not have to go out to bid for our professionals. Benny, correct me if I'm wrong, but we don't have to go out every year for our professionals, or every 3.
But Mr. Weiner's correct. It's really more of an exercise as opposed to, we can select based on what we see and our needs. There isn't anything mandated that says we have to go with the lowest bidder or, so you're correct. It's really an exercise.
Thank you. That's all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, David. Anybody else from the public? Seeing or hearing nobody, we're going to make a motion to adjourn. I just want to close with telling you guys, hey, keep positive, test negative, and thank you all for joining. Someone make a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
Deputy Mayor Napolitani,
Yes.
Council Members Achara,
Yes.
Donlin,
Yes.
Fisher,
Yes.
and Mayor Siciliano.
Yes. Thank you all for joining. Have a great meeting. Great night. Thanks, everybody. Take care.